What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie298 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. And I might be a little bit hyperbolic here, but I think Xbox is poised to be the Disney of video games. And what I mean by that is, let me start off by saying this E3 presentation for Xbox was arguably the best Xbox presentation of all time, but could possibly be the best presentation at E3 of all time. And let me explain what I mean. Xbox announced 30 different games from the 15 or so studios that they have currently under their belt. And we're talking big games like Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite, as well as smaller games and other indie games. But a large majority of the games that they showed are coming to Game Pass on day one, and that's just a great deal overall. If you're somebody who still likes collecting physical games, I get why you don't like Game Pass. You want to have that disc in your hand. But if you're somebody who buys most of their games digitally, why spend $60 or in some cases $70 on a lot of these games if you can spend what comes down to $15 a month for Game Pass Ultimate and play that game on your Xbox and your PC and in the cloud? It makes absolutely no sense to buy that game digitally for $70 anymore. Coming off in the distant future, you've got games like silly little games like Party Animals and things like that, Slime Rancher 2, but big name games like Outer Worlds 2 and Starfield. Starfield will be an Xbox/PC exclusive. That's ridiculous. One of the biggest and most anticipated games from Bethesda coming to Game Pass day one. But then you look at the games that are coming out just this year for Game Pass, and it's a hell of a deal. Psychonauts 2, Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, Back for Blood. I mean, these are some big, high-quality, console-selling games, and these games will be available day one in 2021, provided they don't get delayed, on Game Pass for that $15 a month fee. Basically, Xbox fans and PC fans have one of the best consumer propositions of all time. For a very low fee, you'll get access to the base version of all of these games, several big games this year, tons of big games in the next few years. I don't know how this isn't just amazing to everyone out there. And when it comes to the individual games announcements, there's still some really exciting stuff out there. Halo Infinite will be a free-to-play multiplayer game, and if you want the story campaign, then you can either buy that or play that on Game Pass. And with Halo Infinite, like a lot of these Microsoft exclusive games, I don't think we should call them Xbox exclusive because a lot of them are also coming to PC as well, including Halo Infinite multiplayer. But a lot of these Microsoft exclusive games are featuring cross-play as well. Buy it once, and now you can play it on PC, now you can play it on Xbox, now you can play it in the cloud. That is ridiculous, and you don't even have to buy it. You just get Game Pass Ultimate. I mean, I, as well as everybody else, was kind of doom and gloom 3 years ago when Xbox started buying up all of these different gaming companies. And we would hope that we would get some good games from it in 2020 at the launch of that console. Unfortunately, because of that stupid plague that went around, that wasn't an opportunity. But now we are here and we're starting to live that reality. 6 big games in the next 6 months. You really can't argue with that. And I mean, they mean big games like Halo Infinite or even smaller games like Psychonauts 2. Another thing I'm really surprised about here is looking at the variety of games we're talking about. I mean, for the most part, I've always thought of Xbox as the console of the first-person shooters and sports and racing games. But, I mean, we're talking about smaller indie games like Hades coming. We're talking about Psychonauts 2, which is looks like a really excellent platformer. And, of course, you still have all of your shooters and your racing games coming as well. But, I mean, even some high-quality RPGs when it comes to stuff like the Outer Worlds 2 and Starfield. I mean, this is the closest to a Japaneseification of these consoles as we'll ever see. A lot of Eastern games for a Western-based console, and I think that's good. This is just my opinion. I could be wrong about this. I feel like the only thing that's really lacking from this lineup, with the exception of Halo Infinite, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of really narrative, story-driven games. Yes, RPG games, Starfield will probably be very story-driven, but nothing that really compares to the God of Wars and Uncharted 4s. They don't really have a Naughty Dog, in my opinion, and they could use that. On the flip side of that coin, though, the games like Starfield or Halo Infinite, these are going to be very interesting story-driven games. I mean, these cinematics for Halo Infinite single player are just ridiculous. I've been emotionally moved by these trailers so far. Even if I don't play through the single player version of this game, I will enjoy watching these cinematics on YouTube at the very least. Now, as an overly critical gamer, I do want to go back to my original point, and that Microsoft is trying to be the Disney of video games. It's not all peaches and cream here. It's not all roses and walks in the park. As an overly critical gamer, I have to criticize some things here, so I'm absolutely going to. Xbox fans, you might want to tune out. Xbox has definitely taken the Disney plan of, if we don't own it, buy it. And that's not a great thing, especially because Microsoft has bought some really great studios in the past and then worked them to death and then ended up shutting them down entirely. And that's not something I want to see with something like Bethesda. That I do not want to see Bethesda have a little gravestone in the Microsoft graveyard. And then when it comes to Game Pass, I think Game Pass is a great value proposition right now in 2021. But if it becomes the future of gaming, it will drastically change the way that games are developed so that the base versions of games that come for free on Game Pass end up really being more heavily monetized than they otherwise already would be. Maybe that's something simple, like with a game I played on Game Pass called Monster Train. Eventually they introduced an expansion pack. That expansion pack was $10. I bought it since I got the original game for technically free for the $15 a month subscription. That's not too bad, but if we eventually start seeing the bulk of video games paywalled behind Game Pass, that can be a real downside. Now, that's not happening in 2021, so I can easily recommend Game Pass today. But at the same time, when you go to pre-download Forza 5 for Game Pass, they tell you, don't you want to pre-order all the premium content? Don't you want the car packs? Don't you want the bonus points? Don't you want to spend $99 on this DLC package? Clearly, that's a direction that Microsoft wants to take Game Pass. $15 a month, you get what is essentially the base version of the game, which will feel a little bit like a demo, and if you like the game, they'll get you to spend a lot more. This could ultimately change the way that gaming works in the not too distant future, in the next 4 or 5 years. As it is right now, we're getting full versions of games for the $15 a month, and I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. It's a great value proposition. But if they are successful in this domination of the market, it could change the way things work forever. Now, the flip side of that is Sony is the company that Microsoft will probably never be able to buy. And there means there will always be competition in this field. And as long as there's competition from Steam, from Sony, then there's always going to be alternatives, especially for those of us who like physical copies of games. They might be more complete versions of those games than you would find on Game Pass in the future. But is that just my anxiety getting the better of me? Am I being overly paranoid here? Let me know if that's something that you're concerned about. Let me know in the comment section below. That said, as it is right now, Xbox has some of the best games in the industry, if not the best games in the industry, the best studios in the industry, for the best price in the industry. I genuinely do not understand how Xbox couldn't just dominate this generation. It really seems like that should happen. And we're going to have to wait and see what Sony brings later in the week. Now, as usual, this is just one man's opinion. I could be wrong, as I so often am. It feels good to be talking video games with you guys again. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor, drop a like down below. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're already subscribed, hit that notification bell so that you can see these videos covering E3 and other things that I upload to the channel as things move forward. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I will speak with you again soon about the Sony conference when we see it, but as it is right now, Xbox. Chef's kiss.